Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to learn all about the importance of personal branding so you can stop floundering around and wondering why your business is doing nothing or ho-hum or just kind of, lukewarm milquetoast. My name is Gracia. I am founder of the Mind, Body, Spirit Network and the AthenaArena.com. And I help conscious solopreneurs just like you get really clear and concise and consistent in your messaging about who you are, what you stand for, and what value-driven services and results you provide your ideal clients. And my brand edge, which we're going to learn about in a little bit, which is a part of branding, is what sets me apart from others. And that is that I am a student of higher consciousness and the map of consciousness, and understand the importance of aligning the truth of who you are with the higher level of consciousness that you are, in addition to aligning yourself with the archetype of who you really are, as we all come into this world with a predominant archetype. So I kind of like to power pack branding with this understanding so that you can really attract your ideal clients, unlock profitability, and leverage your expertise, understanding these basic principles and spiritual practices. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, hold on, you guys. Here we go. We need to mute somebody there, Cheryl. I don't know who's making a lot of noise. Okay. Whoopsies. So, the title of this webinar is How to Transform Your Floundering Solopreneurial Business into an Engaging, Profitable Brand. And I found this great little factoid when I was Googling. I wanted to find some good, compelling information about why businesses fail. And I found this great article on Forbes.com, 5 reasons 8 out of 10 businesses fail. First one is you're not in touch with the market and you haven't done any research or deep communication with the marketplace. You're just kind of winging it. It's a wing and a prayer. So doing a little market research is helpful. You're not differentiated in the marketplace. And this is what I just kind of mentioned earlier. You don't have a position or an edge in your branding. How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else that's doing what you do? Failure to communicate in a clear, concise, and compelling fashion. This is what John was saying, exactly what John was saying earlier about his definition of branding. So there's no consistency in how you speak about what you do, so people aren't sure who you are and what you do. And they sure as heck can't refer you if you're not super clear about that. And your inability to nail a profitable business model with proven revenue streams. So during the process of branding, you're going to identify like what your strong suit is and go with that. And then, Stephanie, who's into business, I wanted to mention this earlier, one of our members, Stephanie Vinton, helps to streamline those systems. So once you have a product or service offering, you've got to get it so that it works like a nice flowing machine so that you're highly profitable in everything that you do. So this one particular blog post that I found was really focused on the marketing side of why businesses fail. There's certainly way more other reasons that businesses fail. One of them key is undercapitalization and cash flow. That's really one of the other biggest problems, but marketing is significant. So what is branding? And I asked every one of you what you thought branding was, and you guys are pretty clear on what it is. I congratulate you. You have a pretty sound understanding of it so far. So what's important about it is you can't just kind of have it out there airy-fairy in your head. You got to stop thinking about it, and you got to be deliberate about writing it down and being intentional about who you are, what you stand for, and what it is that you offer. So don't just think it, ink it. I love that. All right. What is branding? First of all, it's way more than just a logo and a business card. Most people think it's just a logo and a business card. It's not that. The logo and business card is just one aspect of brand identity. So during a branding process, at the end of the process, then you'll start focusing on the brand identity. And those would include like your logo, other symbols or type logo fonts and type styles that you're going to use, packaging, color, sound, shape, smells, etc. There's all kinds of other attributes that would go into more sophisticated branding, which is not to say a personal brand couldn't go through this as well. So branding is the process of clearly defining who you are, what you stand for, what value-driven results and promises you deliver your ideal clients. There's bullet points in every single part of what that is saying right there. And according to master branding experts, it's the process of building positive perceptions in your customer's mind by consistently presenting the vision and idea of your brand so that others understand, believe, and resonate with what you stand for and the promise you invariably make and keep. So you don't just write it down, you have to live it. You have to get it into every cell of your body. It's got a vibe within you. This is kind of law of attraction at work. This is laws of consciousness at work, where every intention that you have written down that you are, you got to start living it. And that's how people recognize it in consciousness. And they don't know that they're recognizing it in consciousness. It's kind of an intuitive thing, but that becomes the attractor field, not this mixed message of, butterfly in a garden where people can't recognize who you are. So here are some of the key benefits to branding. Brands prevail over no-name offerings. And I have a lot of, generalists out there, life coaches, acupuncturists, yoga instructors. You can certainly be that, but you really got to find a little niche for yourself and some kind of, recognizable brand name that you would use so that people can refer you more readily. And because you've gone through this exercise of defining who you are, what you do, what you stand for, it makes it much easier to sell because you don't have to say so much because you're already being understood and trusted by what you've already, that foundational basic you've already created. Because you're more confident in yourself too, and you can articulate who you are, what you stand for, way more clearly and concisely so people don't have to question it. All that doubt that was vibing in you earlier is no longer there. They're also much easier for lead generation referrals. It's so easy to refer someone who has a quick brand name, like the Badass Brands book lady, right? Badass Brands. That's super easy. I understand what she's doing. I love the sound of it. She's my gal. All right, that's just an example. Brands build equity over time. And this becomes a really powerful asset to your business. And when you build equity in your business, you're building expertise and trust and the ability to charge more for what you do. So it's building expertise and leverage. And in leverage, I mean, you can charge more for what you do and unlock your profitability. So for example, as people get to know you more, you could put together a package, a service package of some sort, which is essentially what I'm doing with this branding workshop. And you now understand your value and your expertise and your time, and you're not charging by the hour anymore. You're charging by the experience. So that's kind of just an example of how that can look. Brands increase the odds of business survival. And I want to kind of emphasize how important this is. Let's say you have a startup company and you're going to look for venture capital. If you go to a venture capitalist and you haven't done any branding, they're going to dismiss you completely. I belong to this group called Women Who Start Up. And the leader of this group is emphatic about branding and how important it is to articulate clearly who you are. And trust me, when you align yourself with the truth of who you are, you'll feel the energetic truth of that. And the value that you provide people aligns and you feel it. And I felt it energetically myself. It was like I just became an oak tree. I just became a redwood forest. You feel it energetically, and that's when you know you got something. So they build confidence derived from clarity and conciseness, especially if you are your own brand. You know, if you are a solopreneur, you are your brand. And when that confidence and clarity comes in, you're going to feel the shift. So branding is an exercise in higher consciousness. And clearly defining every aspect of your business and brand is alignment with intentional and specific attractor fields in consciousness. And aligning with powerful levels of consciousness like love is huge. And if you've attended some of my other webinars, I'm a big proponent of understanding the map of consciousness and where to align your energies. This is free will. You can choose to align with powerful levels of consciousness or not. And it's not, you know, you deserve to be there because that's who we are. In fact, we are truly higher level consciousness beings. So align with it. So consistent intention is key in branding. So not only are you going to write this down and you're going to create what's called a branding brief for yourself, you're going to review it often. And if you have to revise it a little, you can do that. You got to pivot away from a product that isn't working. That's okay. See what works, what doesn't work. And it's really just another goal-setting exercise in being clear and concise about your intentions and consistently referring back to your original intentions. And again, I'm repeating myself, sorry. You'll modify them if need be to adapt to changing conditions and the needs of your clients. And I did a goal-setting workshop last week, and branding really is an exercise in goal-setting. And goal-setting is about being specific, being consistent with looking at them, revising them. It's the same thing. And people that set goals are 9 times, and write them down, people that set goals and write them down are able to earn 9 times more over their lifetime than those that do not. So I see branding as a metaphor for goal setting for businesses. It's the same thing. You've got to set a foundation and get clear and specific about who you are, what you stand for. It's also law of attraction at work. What you put your attention on tends to manifest. And I was listening to Abraham and Esther yesterday and got some really aha moments when Esther was talking about the vortex. And being in the vortex is essentially being in the higher levels of consciousness. And she's saying, which I've told you as well, it is enormous when you align yourself with powerful attractor fields. And she says, her example is, if you're in the vortex, you are 1,000,000 times more powerful than someone who is not. So when you're building a brand, you want to be aware of higher levels of consciousness, which is what the map of consciousness will show you, and aligning yourself with those attractor fields. It makes life a lot more easier and 1,000,000 times more powerful. I love that. And I love this guy. This guy is a brand archetype for sure. I'd call this one the adventurer. So how can you navigate towards business success if you don't have a roadmap? You got to get a roadmap. And this guy is clearly headed in the right direction. So personal branding is just a similar, it's another branch of branding, but it's focusing on you. If you're the face of your brand, you're a solopreneur, you got to align with the truth of you, because people need to know who you are, what you value, what you stand for, all those good things. And personal branding was popularized by an article by Tom Peters. He's the guy who wrote, I forget now, Success, Sevens, I forget. I'm stumping the chump here, but he has a very popular book about successful people. 7 strategies, top strategies of successful people. Maybe, Cheryl, you can look that up for me. I can't think on my feet right now. You guys know what it is. Anyway, he wrote an article over 10 years ago about the importance of personal branding. And he was talking about it in regards to people that work within corporations or they're on a career track. He recognized how essential it was to brand yourself for the same reasons that branding for a company is important. It's aligning yourself with the truth of you. And when you do that, you don't have to sell yourself anymore because it's clear who you are, what you stand for, and what value-driven results you provide your employer, as an example. So, Cheryl, did you have to say something? It sounds like someone's trying to chime in.
Nope, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did anyone in chat know the name of that book?
Is it called The Peter Principle?
No, but Tom Peters does talk about the Peter Principle in one of his books. Mm-hmm. It's excellent. It's about
In Search of Excellence.
Yes.
With Robert Waterman.
Oh, that's not it. Okay. Tom Peters got another one anyway.
Okay.
He's a big business writer. He's been doing it for decades.
Okay.
He's probably in his mid-60s or so now, but he's pretty well known. So anyway.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy. It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Thank you. I know I had the right words. There were 7 in there.
I was like, you guys are jumping all around.
Thanks, Deborah. All right. So in any event, personal branding is becoming really pivotal in people's lives in the corporate world. They're understanding this. So why solopreneurs are still, they're just starting to get it, that they need to do branding if they're going to survive as a business. Okay, hold on. My screen is not moving forward. Here we go. All right. So what's the importance of a personal brand? And it's not necessarily about self-promotion and being ubiquitous. And that really, has a low feeling vibe to me when people are self-promoting without real value. If you're promoting and providing value, that's a different thing. So the importance of a personal brand is to define who you are, define who you want to be, establish how you want to be known, and define your leadership style. So in the absence of defining this for yourself and for others to perceive about you, they're going to perceive whatever they want. And you're going to get feedback that maybe you don't like because you haven't defined who you are. So, and I recently had that experience with someone who was a member of our Facebook group. And he decided to give a less than favorable comment about the group because apparently I didn't clearly define, who I am, what we stand for, and that type of thing. So I listened to him and I said, oh, okay. I went and kind of polished up how I want to be perceived. So that's what can happen is someone could misperceive you because you're not standing strongly and confidently in who you are and what you stand for. Now, if I clearly am not doing that because I got a negative feedback from this guy. So you want to kind of nip that in the bud before you even get started, right? You want to make sure you have great reviews and support from your community. And if you don't, that's a signal that there's fear and doubt going on within you to bring that forward. So it's something you got to take a look at. And you got to be willing to accept that you created that negative feedback. So it's good feedback. You're like, okay, what part of me needs to clean up my act? So a well-defined personal brand is going to allow you to identify how to showcase your best self. Deborah and Oprah are all about living your best life and defining your best self. So you get to be the living example of your brand. You do need to understand your strengths and weaknesses and how you can kind of shore up those, we call them weaknesses. They don't have to be weaknesses. They can be kind of like endearing vulnerability points. And to be vulnerable and is very powerful in connecting with your potential tribe. It helps you to stand out from your peers and competition. And we talked about this is brand positioning, brand edge. How are you going to differentiate yourself from others? And I don't necessarily want, I like not using the word competition because you stand alone for sure. You have no competition. You are a snowflake of creation. So there's no one else like you. So make sure you clearly stand in the truth of who you are and don't try to be someone you're not. A well-defined brand also helps to build your tribe of others who share the same values. So when you write down what you value, do what you really do value. And the book I mentioned earlier, the author is really kind of clear about honor who you are and your difference. And you don't have to go along with you don't need to be a me too brand. You want to be your own brand.
Excuse me, Liz, that's the Badass book, right?
The Badass.
Talking about because you
Badass
really
brands. Yeah.
You enjoy that. Yeah.
And she has some great examples in there about people that are going against what the establishment is. In particular, like one of her examples was financial advisors. They were very, buttoned up and prim and proper with the company they used to work for. Then they went out on their own. And she encouraged them to be who they were, which is, serving 20 and 30-year-olds and being hip and cool and, whatever, being themselves. That's going to attract their ideal clients to be who you are. You don't want to attract someone who you're not. You want to attract your ideal clients. So be human. That's what I'm saying. That's what she's saying. You got to be who you are. And working through the doubts you have about who you are with another is helpful. Because if you ask people, what do you like about me? They'd probably tell you the doubts that you have about yourself. They'd say, that's why I love you. And help build the confidence around being who you are. Okay. A well-defined personal brand allows you to demonstrate your value through actions. So, just an example, giving this webinar. I'm demonstrating my value through actions by sharing my expertise with you and hoping that you get a lot from it. And it doesn't mean you have to buy from me whatsoever, because I want you to be aligned with me. I want you to feel like this messaging feels good. This potential partnership feels good. Like, what does this feel like to you? That's another part of branding, is what are the emotions that you want to evoke from your ideal clients? It also elevates your social proof, because you're clearly giving out messages and sending off a signal that others want to share, especially if those others are aligned with you and your values. It solidifies your niche. You're going to decide, I'm the trumpeter of truth. That's my niche. And I happen to love that name. And it's a little bit bold, and I feel a little bit of doubt, not a ton, but I still feel like, who am I to call myself the trumpeter of truth? And I can back it all up with my story as an example. Why have I come to call myself the trumpeter of truth? So that's kind of my niche, is to anything that I address in my business, it comes from a higher level of consciousness and understanding levels of consciousness. And I just want to give you guys examples of what will come out of a branding process in solidifying a niche and defining your edge and your position. And it's also going to convey your message and values. And I value truth, right? I don't have to go deeper into a long-winded paragraph of what I value. I value truth, period. That's it. That's super simple. And then when you do put a stake in the ground on what you value and who you are and which niche you're going to go after, you're going to feel the confidence energetically. Like I said, the redwood force, that energy suddenly becomes you. You're like, whoa, you are unassailable in your expertise. The key to all of this branding is you have to consistently be clear and concise everywhere you show up. Everywhere you show up as the face of your brand, you've got to, and if you're not really, it's like an actor doing a part. It should be easy for you to do this part, but you don't want to stray off in anything where there's doubt about who you are and what you stand for. You always got to stake your claim, stand your ground. Okay. So we're gonna go through the branding process with this simple metaphor. And Cheryl, how am I doing on time? You're on mute.
Liz, yeah, you're just about 10 minutes to the top of the hour here.
Okay, good. All right. So I'll try to go through this fairly quickly. So a simple metaphor is a tree. The tree is you. And I want you to understand branding from this tree point of view. And I got this from my branding friend, Jessie May, who some of the people watching this today know Jessie May, and she inspired me with this tree metaphor, which I love. Other metaphors that have been used have been the skeleton, which I love that Deborah used the skeleton as the foundation for your business, as well as an iceberg. You know, the tip of the iceberg shows nothing as to what's underneath, and underneath is your branding. So the roots are you. This is the essence of you. Whoops, sorry. So if you're not clear on who the essence of you is, you're not going to have healthy roots. And if those roots are super superficial and you're hanging off the edge of a cliff, you're not going to stand up very long. So personal branding would get involved with clearly unearthing the true essence of you. That's the first step. You've got to decide who you are. And here's the aspects of you that you need to get in touch with and get clear on. Your expertise. What are you expert at? Your values, personally and professionally. Your opinions, as they may differ from others in your industry. How do you set yourself apart with your opinions about things? And make sure those opinions are of a higher nature, right? You can have opinions that are righteous, which are, when in understanding consciousness, you'll understand that righteousness is a low vibe. So your opinions have to be kind of rooted in truth, in essence. Your idiosyncrasies that make you uniquely you, right? So what I know about me is I'm can be goofy and funny and irreverent. At least I like to think I am. I have to ask my friends. I think I've heard that before. So the roots are you. You got to get super clear about who you are. So those roots run deep and they run far. So that's kind of the visual I want you to use about that. And it's your personality in 3 words. What would that be? How concise can you get about who you are in 3 words? And then your big why. Why are you doing this? You need to get kind of rooted in that. Why are you doing what you're doing? Make sure it's for higher purpose, a fulfilling and meaningful life for you, and not shooting all over yourself about who you think you should be, what your why should be. Don't make it a should. Make sure it's clearly meaningful and purposeful for you, and it serves others as well. So the trunk is your personal brand. Your brand is everything that clearly communicates who you are, what your expertise is, and what you value. So when you get into the branding part, you're going to start really getting more concise about each one of these bullet points. So the trunk is your personal brand. And personal branding can include your elevator speech that you use everywhere you go to speak. It can include identifying your ideal clients, which you absolutely want to do. And you can have more than one, but if you can get even crystal clear on just one and stay focused there, it's likely your success will be greater. It's going to identify words and phrases that uniquely align with you and your offerings. There are particular words that come to mind when you think of you, and you want to use them consistently, because and then you'll get really good at remembering all of your phrases and words that you use to describe you. And then consistent images, colors, and fonts is hugely important in developing printed materials and your website. And I see if you come across a website that looks like a do-it-yourselfer, this is why. This is one reason why. They're not clear on who they are, what they stand for, and who they want to be. And they're not good designers. There's many reasons. But typically, if you go through personal branding, you want to do this first before you develop any major online presence, any type of printed materials that you can spend a lot of money on. I mean, you can do inexpensive postcards to get started and inexpensive flyers and a do-it-yourselfer website. But as you move along, you're going to want to invest in a better representation of you. And getting professional help to do that is in alignment with higher consciousness, because you are willing to recognize there's greater expertise in what's required to represent you. Okay? The personal brand is also your service services, programs, and pricing. So you're going to get clear as a solopreneur. I'm really loving the idea of having one core product that's super crystal clear, delivers results. And that's all you need. Get really, really good at that. And then as you build your brand and your brand awareness, then you can add products. Brand extensions is what they're called. You'd add another brand extension to what you're doing. And then headshots and how you present yourself in fashion matters. That will be a part of your personal brand in that trunk area. The branches are your brand touch points. They can include your website, your business card and all printed marketing materials, your regular email newsletter, whatever type of newsletter you're sending out. This is a touch point. Social media channels, every one of those is a branding touch point. Videos in a YouTube channel, podcasts, live presentations, webinars, networking events. All of them are brand opportunity touch points. In the absence of branding, a lot of people are out here with all these leaves and nothing below it to support it. So all these leaves is where you're floundering. This is why there's floundering going on. Those leaves are wilted and they need water and they need roots. And this is the problem with a lot of solopreneurs and small, startup entrepreneurs that don't invest in this. And they're wondering why. It's because they've got no energetic, this is a practice in consciousness and aligning with truth and power and energy and attractor fields that are recognizable by others without you having to do all of this touch point stuff. Okay. So, pardon me. So what's the number one branding mistake that keeps solopreneurs and businesses floundering, discouraged, and struggling? I just told you. They start with the branches. Everyone's out there with online overwhelm, trying to get all the branches out there, all the leaves, social media, blah, 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 and everyone hates it. This is why. If you get in alignment with your personal brand, you don't need all of these touch points necessarily unless you want to do them. They'll come naturally as a progression of the brand. So branches are weak and failing without a really solid root and support system. So the best place to invest in your business before anything else is your roots and branches. Branding is a foundational basic to any business success. So I wanted to do a little exercise, but I think we're going to skip that today because what time are we at there, Cheryl?
You're just about the top of the hour here.
Okay, so I'm going to skip the exercises, but I'll go through fast and then so I'll have it on recording. So we're not going to do this. I'm just going to give you bullet points that you can do. And if you've been to this webinar before, you've already gone through this, but I want to share it with the audience. So the first thing you could do is, what are your top values in life? So the 3 things I like most and least about myself. This is a great exercise to get you started. You guys can do this. Who is the happiest person I know? I love this question because you can align yourself with someone who is experiencing and living higher consciousness. If someone is consistently happy and successful, you want to align with those attractor fields. Who are the 2 people I like and respect the most and why? This is a great thing to focus in on as well. And this will start to align you with your values. This is one aspect of branding, is to align yourself with your top values, because this is what's going to be recognizable in the field of consciousness with others that have the same values as you. And that makes your ideal client even easier to deal with. Who am I? This is one of our members' meditations. I love that she repeats this. Who am I? Write this down. What are your top 5 values in life? So identifying your top 5 lifetime values is a shortcut to identifying your top goals in life. To have a high level goal is a good thing because life can then kind of help align you with filling in the blanks to getting there. 3 key places where your personal brand must be aligned. If you want to attract ideal clients and followers to your business, You're the first one, the roots. You're the one. People have got to be aligned with you and your values, and they can't align with it if you haven't identified it. The visuals. You need to have consistent images, fonts, colors, shapes that align with you and your branding messages. You don't want a mixed bag of images, which is a lot of do-it-yourself websites are. They're inconsistent images and messages. And then your voice, the words and phrases and the tone and the stories that you tell. These are key places where your branding must be aligned. So, are you convinced yet that branding is a good idea? Would you like help with your personal branding efforts? Well, how about, how about a developing a personal brand online workshop? And this is what I've created to provide to people throughout the year, probably once every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm guessing. And through all of the process of this personal branding workshop, you're going to come up with what's called a brand brief. And this is really like your goal setting worksheets. It's going to be the document pulls together all the assets of your unique brand in one place, so that anytime you're ready to do something, like you're going to do some social media posts, you're going to be a presenter somewhere, you're going to look at your brand brief until you know it cold, because you want to kind of re-energize the intention of who you are, what you stand for, and this brief is a great go-to place to do that. It more deeply connects to your business intentions and provides a foundation around your messaging. And it's really like you're a really well-practiced actor in your own personal brand. You know your lines, you know them really well, and you can improvise with the right words and feel and emotions of who you are, what you stand for, and the value-driven results you provide your ideal clients. And you'll use this anytime, this branding brief you're going to use anytime you're creating those leaves on a tree. Anytime you're creating something new, make sure it aligns with the voice of who you are and what you stand for. And remember, the goal-setting stats I've shared is when you set goals that are written down. This is what branding is. You're writing down your goals of intention of who you're going to be. You will typically earn 9 times more of your lifetime than others that don't. And as a business, you're way more likely to survive than not. So I've created something, the art of crafting an impactful personal brand. It's a master's journey for recognizing and awakening the genius of your soul and illuminating the pathway for your ideal clients, your own prosperity, and the purposeful life and thriving business that makes a significant difference in this world and to everyone you touch. So getting clear is going to illuminate the pathway for your ideal clients. Like, they're going to find you easily. Financial prosperity and abundance is going to find you easily. That's what I'm talking about. Clearing the way for this to happen and to experience this life that you're wanting. All of us want a purposeful, meaningful, thriving life. And it's a 6-week workshop. We're going to go into all these different aspects of branding, which I'm not going to reiterate right here because I don't want to take up too much more time. But it does cover all the major aspects of branding. It does not, however, go in deep into the brand identity phase of branding. That would come after the workshop if interested. We would go further, which would be getting your logo developed, building a website, whatever type of printed material needs to happen. That would happen after a branding workshop and getting that branding brief really fine-tuned and in order. So, let me just go back. So what the edge is to the brand position and the brand edge that I'm using in this workshop is my understanding of aligning with powerful levels of consciousness, understanding where power and consciousness exist, as well as identifying your predominant archetype in consciousness. We all come into this world with a unique gift and way of being, and it shows up in archetypes. So those are 2 kind of power plays I'm using in this this workshop to really amp up our ability to attract what we want in our life and our business. So again, this is that reiteration that people who regularly write down their goals earn 9 times as much over their lifetimes as the people who don't. And we don't need to go through this again about goals. Although we're going to go through that. 16% of people don't have goals at all. Or they do have goals, but they don't write them down. Less than 4% write them down. And fewer than 1% actually review them on an ongoing basis. So if you want to assure business survival, you got to be in that 1%. And 1% of businesses that intend to survive are going to go through the branding process. So a year from now, you will wish you had started today. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And I was going to ask everyone that's left a question, just for fun. And let me unpin myself too. Okay, so we have a lot of questions in the chat box, Cheryl. Was there something we need to address?
Hi, Liz. Just wanted to, clarify that I think Thomas Peters and his book is called In Search of Excellence, I believe. And then Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly.
Thank you. Okay.
You had mentioned a few authors here on today's.
I did. Okay. All right. So I have one question. If no one has questions, I want to ask one question of everyone that's there. And maybe you can unmute people one at a time, Cheryl. So the question is, what is your brand edge? Who would like to start? We'll just pick them there, Cheryl. Pick somebody.
Well, I gotta go, so can I go first?
Yes, please do.
Go, Deborah.
Well, one thing that came to mind for me is that I am the Pied Piper of living your best life. So it's like, I'm like just providing the music and the good time. And the next thing you know, you're at a destination that you only envision. So that's what came to life for me during this.
Good. The Pied Piper. Great. That is a great brand phrase for you. Or even a trade name like the Bootcamp. That's a great branded name to use, right?
You used that earlier when you were in your introduction.
Right, Deborah? Bootcamp?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just recently got the domain name for that. So we're good.
Oh, that's great.
We're good.
So just so you know, when you come up with something really fun and catchy like that, it's a good idea to trademark that. If you intend to stay in business and really flourish, Bootcamp would be a great trademarked name. Although now we're saying it out loud on video, but that's okay.
It
will be.
Okay, but you know what? That would be a good topic too on how to trademark.
Yeah, well, I'm not a lawyer, so.
Well, then I guess I'll have to call my lawyer.
Yeah. I'll find a trademark lawyer. I have them in my networks who could talk to us. That would be awesome.
That would be great, yeah.
That would be great. Okay.
Thank you.
Cheryl, what's your brand edge?
Hi. You know what? Honestly, I don't know what my brand edge is.
Okay,
I don't know.
That would be a good thing. You want to think about, because that's how you're going to be memorable to people that can refer you.
Yeah.
What's Cheryl's edge? Could be something about your healing grace.
Ooh.
Okay. Ooh, Deborah, I want some of that.
Thank you.
And you don't have to claim ownership to it. If you feel uncomfortable claiming ownership, just have the confidence to know that you're a channel of grace.
Okay.
In however you want to say that. That's just an idea.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that you are a gifted medium and psychic, but my greatest experience with you is healing grace that comes through with you. That's a bonus. It's frosting on the cake. Like, woohoo.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Linda Armstrong, what's your edge, my lovely? Love.
I don't have, can you hear me? Because you guys can't always hear me too well.
I can hear you, yes.
Well, my tagline is to awaken your power to heal your life and live from love. I haven't came up with a catchy name. I used to have a few of them when I was only coaching a couple of years ago. I don't even remember them. And I'm not sure that I want one, to tell you the truth.
You don't want what, Linda?
My like to call myself the Pied Piper or whatever the heck it is. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
okay. All right. Well, the love coach is do something with the love with you, because that's in your vibration for sure. I mean, you know, you're aware of that. So something around love. Bye, Deborah. Thanks for joining us. Anna, do you have to go too?
No.
Oh, no,
I was
okay, good.
just saying bye to Deborah.
Okay, thanks. So anyway, Linda.
Yeah, it's all about love. I mean, it's Love My Life is the website. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it could be more engaging though, in some way. It needs a little work because you do a lot.
The thing with that put me off, to me, that felt like when I see people doing that, it feels to me a little unauthentic.
Well, if it's aligned with truth, it won't.
Okay.
Right? When you feel it, you're like, well, yeah. Because if it's contrived, that's why it's contrived. People are trying too hard.
Right.
And I feel like you do so much that I strongly feel I want to be able to refer you more easily. How can you make it easy for me and people that love you to refer you more easily?
By giving myself a little catchy phrase?
Maybe. Or,
Okay.
or calling one of your programs, you know, you develop a service that's a packaged service that has a catchy phrase. That's just fun. The name alone invites in people wanting to have it. Like, oh, I want that. You know what I mean? So just for an example. Kana, what's your edge? If you have one.
I like reframe and reclaim, but it may be a little too vague.
It's a bit vague.
So
And it's not really an edge.
mm,
What's your expertise? Japanese Wonder Woman to the stars.
empowerment.
That's more of an emotion.
Too general, right?
It's an emotion. You
Right.
want people to feel empowered when they come to you. That's an emotion you want to feel, which is good. An edge is what sets you apart from anybody else.
I think if there isn't something they want, just create it.
Okay, so an edge for you, though, would be your story, your life experience, who you are. That is your edge. You're a Japanese woman who moved here 30 years ago, and your edge comes from being in a repressive culture for women.
Yeah.
Right? That's a possibility of an edge.
And also misbelief many HSP have that they cannot be healthy, they cannot be strong, they cannot be happy.
Yeah. So an edge for you, you immediately self-identify. Other Japanese women immediately identify with you because you're speaking the truth about the culture that doesn't work for women anymore. Right? That's really where an edge would come in, is your own experience and how you're vulnerable and connect with your audience. That's where an edge gets recognized. It's not in the, you know, you're understanding branding with the emotional side, but the edge side is you. That's what we're kind of looking for.
My edge. Okay. So I'm more focused on the HSP traits right now.
Yes.
No Japanese culture.
Okay. So that's an edge because you have the experience of being HSP. That's definitely an edge. Yes. That's your edge. Okay.
Being HSP.
Yep. Because it's a condition you have experience and people can relate to you because you know what they've gone through. All right. I want to move on to everyone else. Stephanie, what's your edge, my dear?
So I'm kind of thinking about this. One of the areas I think of is bringing back the joy, reclaiming your time, optimizing your workflows. Now, I have a tagline that talks about implementing productivity systems for visionary business owners.
Yes, I love that.
But some people, productivity systems, and I could take a poll with this group here, it may fall flat. It doesn't really evoke any emotion or anything at all. And that's really what I'm getting to is let's get you back to your joy in your business. Why did you start your business? It wasn't to be stuck in the weeds.
Yeah.
So that concept of bringing back joy and optimizing your workflows, something around that there is one of the thoughts.
Okay. That's really more emotion you're talking about too there. You're talking about words and emotions and feelings. I personally, as kind of an analytical type, like what you said. I like getting organized, right? So you're going to decide who your ideal client is. Do you want someone like me who gets you, wants the organization, wants the systems? That's a different client than maybe the other one you're talking about, because you got to speak a different language. So this is where you got to align with you. What's the truth of you? Are you really more
Well, opposites attract. And so you and I are very similar, Liz, and I love you, but opposites attract. And there's just a joy I have in working with opposites. So those very visionary, creative business owners.
Okay.
But in some ways it can be more challenging, right, than working with somebody who's more analytical. So it depends. Yeah. So I do think I've got two different audiences.
Okay. Well, you can certainly do that, but going through the process for yourself, make sure you're aligning with truth and not trying too hard to get an audience that doesn't fit. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying they absolutely can, but just make sure you're speaking the language that audience can hear. Like I totally heard the one that you said, the productivity thing. I'm like, sign me up. But others
really,
because
I've actually found the analytical ones are much more resistant because they think they can do it themselves.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, good. That's good to know. That's excellent. Good. So you still haven't got to the edge, and we don't have time to get too into it, but Stephanie, your edge is that you come from corporate America. That's one edge. And when I first met you, that lit me up. I'm like, oh, she knows what she's doing. That's how I felt. It's like, oh, she can help me get organized.
Okay.
Could be, that's just an example of an edge for you, how you express that. You know, I'm a corporate runaway or a corporate refugee or whatever you want to call it, but you learned a lot having gone through it.
Yeah. Right?
That's kind of your edge. It's like, I've been there, I've done that, I know how they do it, and I know how successful businesses manage big companies. So that is just an example of an edge for you.
Okay.
The things you brought up are really emotions and, you know, taglines and words.
Okay.
Okay. Roger, I'm dying to hear what your edge is. I know your edge.
Yeah, well, you've met with me a couple of times, so you know that I too am a bit irreverent. So really what the tuning fork therapy does is manage anxiety, panic, stress. That's really the essence of it at its foundation. And there's just a bazillion people out there doing that. So this summer I experimented with a little different branding idea. I had an artist create two drawings. And one was of a man and the other was a woman. They're cartoon caricatures. And the man, his shirt and tie are undone, his bottom of his trousers are slightly open, his shirt's untucked, and he looks extremely satisfied. The woman is also in a similar state of disarray, holding a pair of high-heeled shoes. And the brand that I played with was Get Forked at Mountain Sound Therapy.
You told me about this, yes.
I did this at a festival. I was at a farmer's market throughout the summer. And as I was out there, I was just saying, you know, as people would walk by, hey, you want to get forked? And what was really interesting, of course, was they heard a different word in their mind, turned and looked, then saw the tuning forks and made the connection. And it was very effective in that regard. Now, I don't know if that's too irreverent, if I'm missing the mark of what I'm actually trying to do, but it generated conversation. And through conversation, I was then able to relate exactly what they would be experiencing.
Right. Cool. So that isn't necessarily an edge though, Roger? Well, it kind of is, but it's not exactly. The edge would come from you. What sets you apart? That's really kind of a marketing message to evoke emotion, which is fun and irreverent. So I already know what's edgy about you.
Do tell.
Well, the fact that you were a police officer is your edge. And that you understood you related with seriously stressful situations.
Yeah, I was on SWAT for a number of years, and every assignment I worked was, they termed it high risk. So I'll just leave it at that.
So you were dealing with stress at a very high level, life and death. That's your edge, in my opinion, which it doesn't have to be, but I just want to give people an example. The edge comes from you as an individual. If you're a solopreneur and you're personally branding yourself, that's a really significant edge. And if anyone else would agree or disagree, please do. But that's what sets you apart to me. When I heard that from you, I'm like, whoa, that perked me up. The fork thing is just, it's definitely engaging one-on-one where people can talk to you immediately. It's definitely a good way to get the conversation going. I don't know if it's attracting your ideal clients. How is that?
No, I get where you're going with the definition between edge and something that is just a conversation starter of curiosity.
Yeah,
I understand that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Because, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first thing I thought of is you wouldn't expect a policeman to be in this healing world.
Absolutely not.
Right? So,
Yes, huge.
So like if he can do it, anybody can do it, right? So it opens that door to people who don't understand what it is we actually really do, to be able to take a second look or something. So I think that there's something with that edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I feel, Roger, it would, in my eyes, give you greater validity that you have come from such a challenging space and you shifted into this here, and it must have worked for you, and therefore the work you do would be beneficial to me.
Yeah.
And I think that people would think because you were an expert in that field, you would also be an expert in this field, because your training of focusing and all the discipline that you've had to learn in your past profession, you would naturally carry it over into this profession. Your focus, discipline, perseverance, good listener, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone. My own journey through PTSD also brought me into the healing modalities. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty significant piece to include.
So I want to point something out here about branding. Look how much came of this without really hearing too much about you, Roger, right? There's assumptions that are made in consciousness by who you are and the service that you provided as a police officer. There's already tons of information that's wrapped around that Cheryl every one of us here just reiterated. So that's a huge advantage that you don't have to say much. I was on a SWAT team, I helped police, I was a policeman for 30 years. I worked in SWAT, blah, blah. One simple sentence. And that tells a story.
Because you're already a humanitarian just by being a police officer. My goodness. I mean, people who put themselves, their lives on the line, we already know that you're all about people once you mention that field. So for everybody here, go ahead, Linda.
Not only that, but the fact that you could be under such extreme conditions and have this tool that you work with give you relief.
Yeah, I got from high risk to high relief.
Oh, write that one down.
I'm writing that down.
That's it. Cheryl's been having some great ones.
And then for Stephanie, I got from corporate to compassion, or joyful flow, or flow joy, something around that, because you mentioned joy. And then for Linda, I got the love bug, like you have a love bug package or a love bug consultation, a love bug, something that just grabs, and we like love bugs, right?
I love that.
We even like ladybugs, but love bug, like the Volkswagen bug. And then for Kana, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you yet, but I just think when we keep doing this, what helps is when we all pitch in, because I really like this format right here where we're all talking about ourselves.
I love this. Well, this is what the workshop is intended to look like. Yeah. Well, you're like a little marketing queen. And Linda, I'm sure the love bug did not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Right? Huge.
You think of a ladybug, love bug, Volkswagen
Yes.
bug, but everyone knows what a bug is when you say they think of either Volkswagen bug, you know, I mean, it's a cute phrase too. People really aren't afraid of it, I hope they're. If
No,
anything,
it kind of captures the essence of Linda.
Well, you know what? You can even take that further, because if I'm healing the physical thing, that's like some kind of a bug, right? That you don't want.
Oh.
Let's replace that with the love bug.
Yes.
Catch that one.
Yeah.
And then
Catch that one.
catch that one.
All right, write that one down. That's awesome. Catch that one. Oh my.
And that thing with Kana, I just wanted to ask you, Kana, I don't know about your personal life. Are you married or single?
I was married very young, twice. Both didn't go well. I got divorced. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. I got over addiction, dependency, codependency, depression, insomnia, all of that. And now, of course, I didn't know that I was HSP either.
So it's kind of like from survival to superwoman, or from survival. So I kind of feel like with you, but you're single now. Is that right? You're single now. Something about you being single and an individual and a strong and a female even, but we don't even have to say female, but just being a single person, how you have survived or strived. So it's something about going from single to striving, or I don't know, something, a survivor to superwoman. Something.
I often use survive to thrive.
Oh, I like
And
that.
I have a website, hspthrive.com.
Yeah.
So, and the Facebook page is highly sensitive person thrive tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. That was just my suggestion. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheryl's a marketing wizard and didn't know this. That's her edge. She's a psychic medium with a marketing edge. All right,
Liz,
I want to wrap it up, you guys.
Liz, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So are you saying to use this edge in like your elevator pitch, or
if it works you could create the edge as something that stands alone, and it would be used in a more of a presentation probably. But if you can squeeze it into an elevator pitch, it's a good place to put it. Okay. Yeah, I'm Stephanie Clinton. I've gone from corporate to compassion, and I help. You can shorten it.
Yeah.
So it's catchy. Corporate to compassion, like that's super catchy. Thanks, Cheryl, for corporate to compassion, right? Something like that. Hi, my name is, I've gone from corporate to compassion, and I help, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Right? Good one. Okay.
Thinking about bringing back the joyful flow in what you do, because it sounds like you want to bring joy into what your work and your flow. You mentioned something about flowing. So something about joy, flow, joy, some little catchy something in there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I could go all day on this because it's fun, but I do want to let you guys go. And I want you all to know that I'm offering this 6-week workshop. And if anyone's interested you can email me. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around the content of it, so I might not rush into doing it. But maybe, I'm not rushing at all. But if you're interested in this workshop, send me an email, and there'll be links below this video if you're watching it on YouTube or wherever. So it's going to be fun. This is what it's going to look like. This is what the workshop's going to look like. Interacting, getting ideas. There's always someone who's on a brainstorming creative role, like Cheryl today.
I show Cheryl what I'm wearing today. Can you see these guys?
Oh. Ladybugs. Nice.
Oh, wow.
It's nice how love works that way. Love shows up. Woohoo. Roger, so great having you here today. Loved having you. Say hello to Brandy. Stephanie, love seeing you again. Kana, it's been a while. Linda, always a pleasure. And Linda's our speaker next week. Linda Armstrong, you want to come and get some love and clear some core beliefs. You definitely want to come for that. Linda's our speaker, so that could be fun. Roger, you're always welcome.
Linda, is it for singles only, or for those of us that are married?
It's for people who want to clear things that are blocking them from manifesting what they want in life.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether you're single. It doesn't matter it's going to be kind of general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a relationship thing. It's a general, we've all got junk in our way. Let's take down the roadblocks.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm going to stop this.